Chris Doucher for GeekNerdNet.com. I am at the 15th anniversary of the Calgary Expo, and I am sitting here with cartoonist and letterer Andrew Thomas. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, thanks. Hey, so talk about some of your books. You've got Orc of the Great White North. You're the co-creator on that and the artist, and you've done a bunch of other work, obviously. We were just talking about it before we started recording, about some Kevin Smith work you did, and you can get into that in a bit. No pressure, whatever. Keep it light. But why don't we talk about Orc of the Great White North? Oh my God, I can't talk. It's been 2 years since we've been in person. But yeah, talk about that, because that's... I mean, it doesn't sound much more Canadian than that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, hey, we're all Canadians, and yeah, fucking right on. All right, go for it.
Orc of the Great White North is the story of Northern Ontario's greatest superhero who protects the small town of Timmins, Ontario. I work on that with my writing partner, Davis Dewsbury, who lives in Timmins and wanted to create a character for the town. Cool. He felt, just as I do, is like a lot of small towns don't get that representation in comics the way you see, like in Batman, Superman. There's always big city metropolises and stuff like that, but not a lot of love for small towns. And
right.
So we're like, let's do a story set here about a hero who the basic rundown on the origin is that he used to be a gold miner, and Timmins is it was a very popular town for mining. It's a big mining city, so he wanted to incorporate that history into Orc's history. So in 1912, he was he was a gold miner, and they while they were mining, they struck a panel in the wall, and that released this mysterious gas, and it affected everybody in the mine. So this gas transformed all the miners into these beasts and all these monsters. And Orc was affected by it too, but he was approached by this Inuit goddess who said, I'm going to give you the power to control that transformation, but it'll be your job to basically fight the monsters. So he does, and he spends the next 100 years, fighting this war. He fights in the major, World War II, and a couple of other major wars as well. But the story that we tell takes place after it's been a decade of peace, and he's kind of like retired. So he thinks everything is, he thinks his job is done. Now he can rest. The monsters start coming back. So the story is it's like an old man Logan tale, where it's like now he's old and he's lost a step, and how do you fight, deal with this conflict? And so despite all that, Davis writes a very lighthearted story that doesn't take itself way too seriously. And yeah, we've been doing that for about over 5 years now, and we're up to we have 6 issues on the regular series. We have an anthology book called A Long Winter, which takes place right after he gets his powers, and it kind of chronicles that first season, of him discovering what he's going through. And then we're actually going to be launching a Kickstarter very soon for the first book of Auric during World War II. And that one's going to be written by Mark Shainblum, who created Northgard. He wrote Northgard, and drawn by Dan Day, who's an amazing artist who's done work for almost everybody back in the day. So once he heard of it was based in World War II, he jumped right onto it.
Oh, nice!
So we're looking forward to getting people to read that. It's going to be fun.
Cool. That's great, man. Thanks for sharing that. I mean. Labor of Love, and 6 issues, 5 years, the anthology. Another book coming out. That's great. Keep cranking it out. I can't, obviously, I'm sitting here with you that people can't see. They'll see in the picture that I post in the interview article. You're wearing this amazing Moobies hockey jersey.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my lead right into your work with Kevin Smith and his team. So talk about how that came about and what kind of things you did with them, and and just a little insight on on Kevin. I mean, we already talked about it before we started recording. He seems like the nicest guy, so I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Kevin's for a long time, but my love for him really didn't appreciate him enough until the pandemic started, and I kind of really took a deep dive into all his movies, all his stuff, and that's when I really found myself attached to him as a creator. Like I love what he does just for the sake of creating. You know, he goes out and he does what he tells a story and he encourages others to tell it. He's so humble. He's really wonderful. Listening to all his podcasts and so yeah, it just kind of it happened that I was just creating a series of fan art based on the characters in his movies, and I started posting them on Instagram, and I started getting liked by a bunch of people, including Kevin himself. And I see him; he says he likes your photo, and I'm like, that's right there. That's an ego boost, right? It's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Shortly after, I was contacted by one of his licensing agents, and he says, "Oh well, we really like your stuff," because it was very reminiscent to the old Clerks animated series. Like I kept the style,
Nice.
like that. I wanted to keep the style, very much similar, kind of alive, because it was a cult classic that it had a very short run. It was like 6 episodes.
I have the set on digital versatile disc.
Real? Oh wow!
Yeah, I've got it. It's
So
great.
I did that, and he says, "Yeah, we like your stuff. Do you want to sell your designs, or do you want to get these as official T-shirts? That we can sell?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
And then because of that, I got to speak with Kevin, and it was like fulfilling like a big bucket list dream to talk to him, and like I felt so giddy, like as a fan, trying to compose myself. Yeah. So and then after that, I got contacted by another company who is licensing the Jay and Silent Bob characters for another project. Can't go into it too deeply, but they said they wanted me to do some art. I'm like, of course I will. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like. So it's been a lot of fun to go on this journey, because it really just started as an appreciation for him, but now I'm getting to actually work with him and getting to kind of contribute into the I would say to contribute to the I don't want to say the ethos, but like to put some stuff out there that's official. It's something that another notch on my belt.
That's awesome.
I would
dude.
say. Yeah,
That's awesome. Like, and also you've got work with the and you're gonna have to say it because I forgot. With the team now, it used to be Chapter House that runs Captain Cat comics and related characters. Give us some insight on that.
Yeah, so last year they got acquired by a company called Lev Gleason Publications, and the namesake is based on the man Lev Gleason, who but during the wartime he created characters like Daredevil, and there was Silver Streak, a lot of the Golden Age public domain characters. They're public domain now. But there was a lot of these Golden Age superheroes that haven't really are not as well known as, like, I guess, the Marvel and DC,
right? But
they predate some of the Marvel and DC characters, which is interesting. So Lev Gleason acquired Chapter House, not only with Captain Canuck and all their characters, but now that they wanted to reboot the classic Golden Age characters of Silver Streak and Daredevil, among others, and then keep it under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
And it's been great to see the fresh new take on it. So I've been doing for Lev Gleason, I'm their in-house letterer, so I letter all their books. Within the universe, which has been great. It's a great. Oddly enough, when I wanted to, I guess, get into comics, I didn't realize that it was going to be through lettering, because that's essentially now has become my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And I found a really deep appreciation for lettering as a craft. And it's one of those things it flies under the radar. It's underappreciated, and it goes unnoticed. Like once it's done right, it's usually ignored. But you only really notice the lettering if it's done bad.
Right.
Yeah. So
I've seen bad lettering.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the story. And you're right. Sorry to interrupt. I mean, as a fan of comics too, right? It's like you pick a book and like, let's say the art and the writing is great and solid, but then if the lettering isn't there, you're like, what the hell is happening here?
That's
right?
exactly it. I mean, if the lettering is done poorly, then it really will take away from the art. I mean, like the art could be like the most fantastic piece done by like David Finch or Jim Lee, and it's too distracting. It's a nice word.
I was just about to say it's that's exactly it.
Yeah.
You're just totally distracted from the everything, right?
So that was something that even for myself when I was working on Auric or like another book that I did before Auric, which was called Posthuman. It was only one issue, but it was one thing that I wanted to do was make sure I learned how to letter and just so that it complements the art instead of taking away from it.
Right.
And so that's just how that's how it came to be. Where I started working on Captain Canuck. They asked me if I knew how to letter, and I'm like, yeah. And it's like, okay, here's an issue of Captain Canuck. We need it pronto. And I'm like, okay. So that happened, and then they came back with another, and eventually it just like, hey, you're going to be our in-house letterer, and here's all our books. And I'm like, okay.
Holy crap.
Excuse me. And then we have other titles like Fallen Sons, Agents of Pact, Phantoma, which is another rebooted classic. And then they're like, we're going to do Daredevil and Silver Streak and Captain Battle and all these Golden Age characters. And I'm like, and I get to be a part of that. And it is so fun, and it's just an awesome experience. So we were having a blast with that, and then lettering has also gotten me to do work for Disney. So I've done Disney comics and Archie comics. So it was very unusual, and I had no expectation to use comic book lettering to kind of get myself in the door into the biz.
Yeah.
And now I'm like a proud comic book letterer, and I'm like, yeah, bring it all. Like I'll take care of it. It's
great.
It's something. It's like I said before, it goes underappreciated, and there aren't that many letterers as opposed to there are writers and artists. So to be part of that community, it's awesome to share stories and get tips from other letterers, and great.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, Andrew Thomas, welcome back to Convention Life, and awesome work, man. I love your story. I love all your breadth of work that you just talked about. Really, I gladly listened. So tell people where they can find your work, website or social media. Where can they get in touch with you?
So primarily on Instagram at the Fat Man Who Letters. That's where I'm posting all, snippets of my work and my appearances, and then I also have Twitter at Fat Man's Comics. So follow me there, and that's where I'll be.
Great. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you a lot.
Okay.